At the baby shower, someone asked me, "So, when are you two having a baby?" Sounds harmless, right? But imagine the whole room turning to look at you, and then your husband drops a line so savage it could win an Oscar for public burns. That innocent little question instantly became the opening shot of a full-on roast show, with me as the main act. And want to know how I handled it when the entire room clapped at the joke? Sit back, because I'm about to spill every twist in this story. Have you ever wondered, if your life were an indie movie, what would the opening scene be? For me, it'd probably be a girl hunched over her laptop at 1 a.m., fixing the timeline for someone else's wedding, while her own marriage isn't exactly a rom-com. I'm Morgan, an event planner in Chicago. My job is to script the perfect ceremonies, flowers blooming at the right moment, music cutting off at the perfect beat, the bride walking in like a goddess. But my real life? Totally different. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a side character at my in-laws' family gatherings, someone they gossip about, not someone who actually exists. My husband Adrian is a lawyer. Sounds impressive, right? And yeah, he's great at arguing, persuading, and turning everything into a no big deal. That's also the part of him I both love and sometimes want to drag out of the courtroom and remind. This is a marriage, not a trial. We dated for 4 years and have been married for 3. To most people, we look like that solid couple, the perfect puzzle piece. But you know how it goes. Stable doesn't always mean easy. I once read something on Reddit that stuck with me. Marriage is like joining a band. You think you're signing up for love songs, but most of the time, it's just arguments about who's offbeat. Spot on. I believe we have love and chemistry, but the moment you put me into Adrian's family choir, I'm always the one out of tune. Adrian's family is big. The kind of big where every gathering feels like I need flashcards just to keep track. Is she an aunt or an uncle's wife, cousin, or just a really close family friend? And it's not just the head count, it's the volume. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has the right to butt into everyone else's business. And me? With my independent streak, a sharp tongue, and zero talent for fake yes ma'am politeness, I'm obviously the piece that never quite fits. I'm an event planner, so I notice everything. The lighting is a little off, the wine glass is in the wrong spot, the timeline is 5 minutes late. That habit bleeds into my personal life. When my in-laws keep recycling the same jokes at my expense, my brain automatically files it away. Meme reused. Same joke. Weak delivery. But even when I don't laugh, somehow I'm the one accused of being too online and not knowing how to be a traditional wife. Do you know that feeling? When simply breathing is enough to become the punchline? Adrian, he always says, "You're overthinking it. They're just joking." And I want to believe that. I want to think every little jab is just harmless family banter. But by the 30th time someone hints that I'm too busy taking selfies to have kids, sorry, that's not a joke anymore. We're not ready for kids yet. Not because I don't like them. I love kids, especially when I'm planning birthday parties and see them grinning ear to ear over dinosaur balloons. But Adrian and I agreed. Now's not the time. I'm building my career, and he's climbing the ladder at his law firm. We want to be sure before we take on the next chapter. At least, I thought we agreed. And then came that fateful week. Adrian's cousin, Charlotte, was about to have her first baby. So of course, the family went all out, throwing a baby shower at this Italian restaurant his mom loves. The moment I heard about it, I got that gut feeling. You know, the vague kind, like when you see a blank slot in an event timeline you're managing, and you just know that's where the disaster's going to land. I asked Adrian, "Do you think it'll be okay? I have this feeling it's going to turn into a free show for everyone." He laughed, wrapped his arm around my shoulder, and said, "Don't overthink it. It's just a happy party. Everyone's excited to see you." I almost argued, but then I stopped, because with Adrian, every problem can be neatly fenced off with logic. With me, though, every problem tends to explode right on stage, once the audience is already seated. I'll admit, in my head I had already played out every possible scenario. Someone would ask when we were having kids, the whole room would go silent, and every eye would land on me. The exact kind of scene I'd seen 100 times on TikTok, in those family drama compilation videos. And who knows, maybe I was about to become the next episode. But I still went. I picked an olive green dress, comfortable but formal enough, and paired it with low-heeled boots I trusted to keep me steady all night. In front of the mirror, I practiced my smile. The kind of smile that says, "Oh, I'm not bothered at all." even though my stomach had been in knots for hours. And sure enough, the moment I walked into that restaurant, I saw the familiar looks. Half curious, half expectant. Like they weren't just there to celebrate Charlotte, but also to see what role I was going to play. The moment I stepped through the restaurant doors, the smell of Italian tomato sauce and the clinking of silverware rang out like a deliberately chosen soundtrack. The place was elegant, warm golden lights hanging low, crisp white tablecloths, everything set up exactly the way I'd design it for a client. Except this time, I wasn't the director. I was just a side character in a play where everyone already knew the script. Charlotte, the star of the evening, spotted me right away and waved. Her belly was big, but her smile was so sweet and effortless, it actually calmed me a little. "Morgan, come sit with me," she said. I pulled out a chair and sat down, trying to steady myself. With Charlotte, everything really was simple. She just wanted cake and to unwrap baby gifts. She wasn't here for the family drama subplot, and I loved her for that. We started chatting about baby stuff, and she told me how the baby kept kicking so much it left her sleepless. I nodded, joking that maybe the kid was already training to be a soccer player. Charlotte giggled, and for a split second, I felt safe. But you know how it goes. Feeling safe around Adrian's family usually lasts about as long as half a mocktail. Right on cue, one of his uncles, the self-appointed family comedian, boomed across the room. "So what about Adrian and his wife? When are we getting good news from you two?" The whole place buzzed, everyone waiting for an answer. I took a deep breath, ready to give my standard line. "We're not in a rush, we've got plans first." But before I could even open my mouth, Adrian swooped in and stole the spotlight. He leaned back in his chair, laughing dramatically, like his uncle had just set him up with the perfect punchline. With Morgan, if I even dared, that kid would probably file a complaint from inside the womb. The room erupted, not the polite kind of chuckle, but full-on belly laughs, people bending over, slapping the table. And me? It felt like the air had been sucked straight out of my lungs. Of course, Briar, Adrian's sister, couldn't resist piling on. She planted a hand on her hip, shot me a look, and added, "Exactly. That baby would be born with the hashtag #DramaBaby. Like dominoes, the laughter exploded all over again. Someone even whistled. I sat frozen, my face burning, wondering when exactly I'd been cast as the main act in this unwanted comedy show. Now put yourself in my shoes. Would you get up and leave, or sit there pretending to swallow it down? Me, I chose to stand, not to make a scene, but because my body simply refused to sit there 1 second longer. I pushed my chair back, ready to step outside for some air. But Adrian was faster. He grabbed my wrist, his smile still plastered on like he was afraid the audience might lose their fun. "Where are you going?" "Don't overreact," he whispered while his hand clamped down tight. And then his mother, the one who always looked at me like I was clearance stock, said it, loud and clear, no attempt to lower her voice. "Adrian, you need to control your wife." The room went dead silent for half a beat, then the murmurs started up again. Like I wasn't even there. Like I was just some puppet whose strings had been yanked in the wrong direction. I pulled my hand free from Adrian's grip and locked eyes with him. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just let my look say it all. The storm hasn't hit yet, but it will, and you know it. Then I turned, walking straight out of that brightly lit room, leaving behind the whispers and half-hearted laughter. Do you think I did the right thing? If your husband turned you into the punchline in front of his entire family, how would you handle it? I really want to know. Drop your answer in the comments, because even now my hands still shake when I think about that moment. I left the restaurant trembling and fuming, and the only destination in my head was Lena's apartment. If you don't know, Lena is the kind of best friend who always has two things on hand: cheap wine and leftover pizza in the fridge. I knocked, she opened the door, looked me up and down, and delivered just one line. "Yeah, you look like you just got jumped by the entire cast of Real Housewives." She wasn't wrong. I collapsed onto Lena's couch and pulled out my phone. That's when the sideshow really began. My screen lit up with a flood of notifications from Adrian's family group chat, the one they so proudly call Royal Fam. Ironic, because the only thing royal about them is their talent for group shaming. I scrolled and nearly dropped my phone when I saw the meme, a screenshot from the baby shower of me standing up from the table, face dead serious. Captioned, "Miss Overacting." And of course, rolling laugh emojis underneath. The whole group was hitting like, haha, as if they'd just discovered comedy. Can you even imagine? I hadn't even caught my breath yet, and I was already the family's new inside joke. And to top it all off, Adrian sent me a private message. You should come back and apologize. Everyone will forgive you. Forgive me? I actually laughed out loud. Forgive me for what? Refusing to play the clown for his entire family? Instead of crying or shutting my phone off like I had in the past, this time my event planner instincts kicked in. I'm used to flipping the script when something goes wrong, and I decided if they wanted to treat me like the entertainment, then fine, I'd be the director. I opened my photo library, found a wide shot of the table with everyone laughing their heads off, and added a caption. A whole room full of adults, acting like it's a kid's birthday party. Then I hit send, straight into the royal fam chat. The result? An explosion, within less than a minute. My phone lit up like the stock market on steroids, ping after ping. One side came at me full force, calling me ungrateful, overdramatic, unable to fit in. The other side was smaller, but there were still a few voices, and surprisingly, Charlotte herself. She wrote, honestly, Morgan's not wrong. I didn't enjoy my shower turning into a place to mock someone. I nearly cried when I saw that. At least someone sane existed in this circus. Of course, the attackers didn't let it slide. Briar immediately snapped back. Oh, please, Charlotte, those pregnancy hormones are making you way too sensitive. See that? Women tearing down other women, like it's a sport. I just sat there, chewing on cold pizza, eyes glued to the screen, equal parts furious and amused. Lena, reading over my shoulder, suddenly shouted, Girl, if you post this on Reddit, you'll go viral overnight. I didn't post it on Reddit right away, but I'll admit, I thought about it. Stories about toxic in-laws on Reddit always rack up thousands of comments like, run, or divorce him yesterday. And I knew for sure if the internet saw those messages, they have no problem labeling Adrian and his family the full-on clown squad. Then my phone buzzed again. Adrian was calling. I picked up, and his voice was sharp, urgent. What did you just do? You embarrassed me in front of my entire family. I actually laughed out loud, the kind of careless laugh that even surprised me. Adrian, I didn't embarrass you. You did that yourself. All I did was flip the light switch so everyone could see it more clearly. I spoke slowly, making sure he heard every single word. On the other end, there was silence for a few seconds before he exhaled hard. You don't get it. My family's just like that. If you keep resisting, we'll never have peace. I hung up before he could launch into another one of his lectures. I'd heard enough of his logic fences to last a lifetime. Sitting there with cold pizza in hand, scrolling back through the messages, I suddenly remembered this documentary I once watched about lions. The pride always protects its own, even when one of them is in the wrong. Except this time, I wasn't the bullied lioness. I was the camera woman, capturing the whole thing. And I swore I wasn't about to let myself turn into prey for the pride to bat around. Think about it. If it were you, would you stay silent, or would you do what I did and fire back straight into the group chat? Honestly, I'm still curious. So if you've ever done something similar, share it in the comments so I know I'm not the only crazy one out here. After that blazing group chat battle, I figured things would settle into a everyone goes their separate way kind of quiet. But no, Adrian's family has never heard of letting things go. 2 days later, I got an invitation to a so-called peace dinner at a fancy downtown steakhouse. I read the message from my mother-in-law and laughed out loud. Peace dinner, really? The text literally ended with, "We hope you'll come and behave properly." Come on, anyone could read between the lines. What they really wanted was for me to show up and bow my head in apology. I told Lena about it. She raised an eyebrow and said, "Girl, if you're going, I'm going. No way I'm letting you walk into the lion's den alone." So that night, we dressed like we were headed to court. I even joked, "Good thing Adrian's a lawyer. Hopefully he won't stand up and object to everything I say." Lena burst out laughing and pulled me into the car. The steakhouse glowed with lights, buzzing with energy. The moment we walked in, I felt like the whole table had been waiting just to watch my entrance. Adrian stood up, moving in for a hug, but I just nodded and slid into a seat at the far end. Lena sat right next to me, arms folded, eyes sharp as a razor. The vibe at the table was so fake it was almost funny. They chatted about the weather, gas prices, some uncle's new car. Everyone smiling stiffly, clearly just killing time before the main act began. And, right on cue, Adrian's mom adjusted her napkin, cleared her throat, and said, "Everyone was just joking, Morgan. You're too sensitive. If you apologize, this will all be over." I took a deep breath, reached into my purse, and pulled out a small black notebook. The whole table froze, staring like I'd just pulled out a gun. Calmly, I flipped it open and said, "If it's all just jokes, then allow me to read back a few highlights from the past 3 years, just to make sure I haven't been misunderstanding." The room went dead silent. I began, bookmark go back. Last Thanksgiving, Briar asked if I'd ever cooked anything besides canned salad. Christmas 2 years ago, Uncle Frank said I dressed like I was auditioning for a bit part in Mean Girls. And on my very first Valentine's Day in this family, Adrian himself joked in front of everyone that Morgan would plan her own funeral if she could. I looked up. Nothing. Not a sound, except the faint scrape of a knife cutting steak from the next table over. Lena snorted under her breath, trying not to laugh. I went on. "Oh, and this one's especially fun. Briar, remember that message you sent me last year? The one where you said, 'Mom drives me insane. I wish she'd stop controlling everything.' But tonight here you are, sitting like her guardian angel. Impressive. Emmy-worthy performance." Briar's face drained of color. She stammered, "You're making that up." I raised a hand. "No need to defend yourself. I remember it perfectly well." I turned to Uncle Frank, the same one who'd just finished bragging about his new car. "You once said I dressed over the top, but I remember very clearly that Friday night a few months ago when you were spotted at a downtown bar with a woman at least 10 years younger than you. I don't need photographic evidence. My memory's good enough." Lena nearly choked, covering her mouth to fake a cough. The air at the table dropped to sub-zero. One of the aunts muttered a prayer under her breath. Adrian's face was now beet red. He slammed his hand on the table. "Morgan, you're tearing this family apart." I calmly set the notebook down, pulled out a slim envelope, and slid it across to Adrian, my voice steady. "I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm just refusing to be the free entertainment act for you and your family's show." Adrian looked at the envelope and realized it was divorce papers. The whole table froze. I heard a few sharp intakes of breath. Briar's jaw dropped, Adrian's mother went pale, and Uncle Frank started choking on his steak. I stood, smoothed my dress, and linked arms with Lena. "Enjoy your meal," I said lightly. Then we walked straight out of the steakhouse, leaving behind a stage in chaos where the curtain had finally dropped. That very night, I moved in with my sister. Her apartment wasn't big, but it was cozy, filled with comforting little details. Scented candles in the corners, a fridge that was never without ice cream, and a fat cat that loved blocking laptops. I unpacked a few bags, sank into the sofa, and let out a long breath. It felt like I'd finally escaped a TV show that had dragged on for way too many seasons, where the audience was bored, but the cast just kept forcing it. In the first few days, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Adrian called, then texted. When I blocked his number, he tried from a different one. When I blocked that, he emailed me with subject lines that sounded like he was filing an appeal. "Please give me another chance." I read it and laughed. What's there to appeal when he was both the defendant and the self-appointed judge? One evening, another unknown number lit up my screen. "Don't do this. I know you still have feelings." I sat still for a moment, then typed back, "I'm just joking too. Turns out this marriage was a 3-year stand-up set. The show's over." I hit send. The green dot popped up, then nothing. No reply. And I knew that was the final curtain call. The divorce went through faster than I expected. I filed the papers, paid the fees, signed my name. It felt strange, relieving, but also a little bittersweet, like kicking off high heels after a long party. Your feet ache, but you're free. To celebrate, my sister threw me a divorce brunch. The table was piled high with pancakes, mimosas, and crispy bacon. Close friends showed up. Lena, of course, was there, and right in the middle sat a white cake with bright pink letters. "Congrats, you're free." When I cut the first slice, everyone cheered, just like the closing scene of a sitcom. But this time, I wasn't the punchline. I was the storyteller. That's when it hit me. Family isn't a stage. You don't owe anyone a performance to be accepted. And if someone insists on making you the clown, the only thing you need to do is step off the stage. Because your life is worth so much more than a cheap laugh from the audience. I realized something. You can't control whether people treat you like a joke, but you can decide whether to stay on that stage. Life is exhausting enough. We don't need to play the clown in someone else's toxic show. Better to walk away and find peace than sit there collecting cheap laughs at your own expense. What about you? Have you ever been put in a situation where you had to choose between saving someone else's face or protecting your own self-respect? If it came down to that, which side would you pick? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear your stories. Oh, and don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more real-life stories that are equal parts hilarious and painfully real. Trust me, there are plenty more everyday dramas ahead that will make you laugh and nod along.